Great. So thank you very much for having me here. I'm really delighted to moderate this panel on AI for greener Europe. So let me invite the panelists, please. Thomas Otter, Daniel Schmid, Daniel, yes, sir. Maybe it's Tobias, and Kevin. Kevin, yes, perfect, great. Yeah. No diversity today. But we'll manage.
But I'm a Brit, so I'm the diverse.
Yeah, exactly. Different hats. Choose from. Okay, great. So before we go into the introduction of the panelists, just to relate a little bit to what we heard today already, the AI summit in Paris that's happening, and of course we talked a lot about regulations. So I learned this morning that one of the decisions that were taken, less red tape, so less regulations, we innovate first, and then we see how we can adapt the regulations in order to have something more, let's say, more adapted to the European way of thinking, living, to the European way of ethics, whatever we want to build here in Europe. So I think that's a good sign already. Now it needs to be applied, and let's see how this will work together with the AI EU Act. So our topic today is a bit different. So we'll talk about the AI for greener Europe. We don't want to focus only on the pure negative side, the energy that AI consumes, and this we know all. I collected some figures that's really funny. So best brokers assume that training of GPT-4 took 100 days and consumed 62,318,800 kilowatt hours. That corresponds to the cost of 8.2 million only for the energy consumption. When you compare this, the annual energy consumption of ChatGPT is projected to reach 26.8 gigawatt hours. This is to run the entire country of Finland or Belgium for a day, or power approximately 21,602 US homes for an entire year, or fully charge 3.13 million electric vehicles, or about 95% of all electric vehicles in the United States. So we know this is negative. Okay, we leave it on the side. We'll focus on the positive aspect. And DeepSeek, that's interesting, because we always talk about the pure training of DeepSeek, but if you look at the inference, so some tests show that it uses 87% more energy than Meta's model. Interesting. Yeah, the reason, of course, is a chain of thought method that provides much longer answers. So wherever you turn, wherever you look at the situation, there's energy consumption. So let's look at the other side and see really what we can do with AI, what AI can do for a greener Europe, greener from all aspects, from all SDG goals that we want to discuss today. And I hand over to the panelists, and please, short introduction of yourself, just 1 minute, in order to see what really your background, and we'll talk a bit more about that.
Then I start. Hey, my name is Toby. I'm leading the AI Startup Rising team. That's all things around startup, corporate innovation, and innovation in itself at the Hessian Center for Artificial Intelligence. We are a Hessian Center that comes from research. We're leveraging currently 100 AI researchers in Hessen. We have our own infrastructure, roughly 700 GPUs. That's among the biggest 5 GPU clusters in Germany, actually. And we're building all kinds of startups on that topic, especially coming from research. My background is actually mechanical engineering, so I come from the technical world, and I've been building up a corporate startup with sensor topics, so coming from Industry 4.0 in IoT, and now I'm, so to speak, one layer above, actually leveraging all the data that comes from sensors to help startups succeed.
Good morning, Kevin Leslie. I'm with Geenpixie. We're a startup based in the UK. We are focused on providing data for cloud emissions. So with regards to this topic on AI, being able to measure power, electricity, water being used by AI and other things in the cloud, being able to reduce it and avoid it. So looking to address some of the negative parts of it. My career has been at companies like SAP and HP and OpenText and so on. So my career has been based on enabling enterprises to do digital transformation. We didn't call it digital transformation to start with, but now it is, and the move to the cloud. My career has been based on how do companies make more profits and how do they do more with less people. So that's pretty much what I've done my entire career. I wanted to work, and I like the keynote talking about a noble purpose. I wanted to work in the sustainability area and apply what I know about digital transformation with enterprises to enable companies to be more sustainable. So that's me.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Thomas Otter. I'm the slightly less weird South African in the world at the moment. And I'm also a recovering SAP, former SAP person. I'm now a venture capitalist. And I, together with my partner Jason Corsello, we run a fund that invests in early stage future of work companies. We have a fund of, we have about 80 million under management at the moment. And we look for exciting startups in the future of work anywhere in the world. About half our investments about maybe slightly less than half our investments in Europe. We have some investments in Africa. We have some investments in Latin America and Asia. And then the majority of our investments are in North America. So I sit, if you like, with one foot in Europe and one foot in the rest of the world.
Thank you. Daniel.
I'm the one trying to make your life as easy as possible because I just realized I'm wearing exactly the same outfit on the photo like today. So recognizing me in the break is as easy as possible. And it's the most sustainable approach, having just one outfit at home. So I was the former Chief Sustainability Officer at SAP for 10 years until end of last year. And I was elected 2.5 years ago as the chairman of the board of Ecosense. Hopefully I will be re-elected in half a year for the next 3 years then. And Ecosense is the German platform of the German industry, of German business for sustainable development. And sustainability is definitely a passion of mine.
Great. Thank you very much. So let's move directly to the first question. Is AI sustainable? And what is sustainable AI? Would you like to start, Tobias?
I can start, and you already mentioned some of the current trends and topics, right? So energy consumption in total completely sparked by ChatGPT. Actually, if you add up all the other AI and Gen AI players in total, the energy consumption in a year would be roughly the energy consumption of Japan. So I don't know. I lived a year in Japan. Tokyo is probably the brightest city you can live in. So it's really, really a lot, right? And you wanted me to be a bit more critical, and you wanted me to be on the positive side, right? So I come to the positive side later, but I also wanted to state again, it's like, unless we're completely leaving away fossil fuels and data centers, to be sustainable with AI is going to be really, really, really complicated, right? Because we're still skyrocketing, and we cannot meet the demand that's actually coming from data centers currently. So one anecdote that also mirrors a little bit the complexity here is, the renewable energy trend in the US is actually sparked and also coming up by ChatGPT usage, because renewable energy, the energy demand is so high that they can't even meet the demand with the fossil energy. So no law ever pushed renewable energy as much in the United States as the current race for AGI, actually. On the same side, the solar energy branch there is not able to come up. Even if they doubled the size of solar energy, they could not completely come up with the renewable side, right? So that stated we need to phase out fossil energy for data centers. Unless that's going to happen, AI cannot be green, right? Focusing on the positive impact side, we're managing and helping a lot of startups in Germany, in Europe, in Hessen to grow. A lot of them focusing on energy, some of them focusing really interestingly on biodiversity. So one specific example, for example, is a young guy and his team. They built up an IoT sensor that you can put in the forest, and they monitor bird species. And by monitoring bird species, they can pretty much go cascading down the whole biodiversity and ecosystem in the forest. We get a really good picture on how biodiversity is actually developing. And interesting approach. The problem here is the business model. So if anybody is fit in business models for biodiversity, feel free to approach me. We really have trouble to get in the right money there, because that only helps if it's scalable, right? And on the other side, like one more part maybe coming from the research side, Hessian.ai is really focusing on making AI more diverse. So bringing in more diverse data sets, how to reduce biases in the whole models as well. And this is also part of sustainability, right? So that everyone is somehow reflected in the models itself.
Thomas, would you like to take over and talk more from the workplace perspective?
Sure. I think if we think about how we define sustainability, it's often defined in a context of the physical environment. But we like to define it more broadly, and we're very interested in the concept of what happens with work, with AI. How do we use AI to make work more meaningful, more enjoyable, more exciting, and more rewarding for people? And at the moment, we're in a very interesting dilemma, because if you take the example of Germany, it's aging out, right? We have a problem in that there aren't enough young people, there aren't enough immigrants, there aren't enough people coming into work to sustain our economies. So there's this very interesting dynamic between, AI can replace us all, yet we need more and more of us to actually use that AI. So there's this balance between the desire to fundamentally automate and yet the opportunities to create new and exciting ways of working, I think, is extremely fascinating. And the constraint that Europe faces in particular in terms of the workforce, I think can help us drive significant innovations in the way we use AI at work. There are a lot of dark sides to AI in the workplace, but there are a lot of upsides as well. And one of the challenges we face at the moment is navigating that path between the overly surveillant side of AI and the empowering side of AI. And when we see examples of companies using the empowering side of AI in the workplace, it's really, really quite exciting and quite motivating to see what some of these companies are doing with AI. And perhaps we'll pick up on those in a minute.
I would like to build on what Thomas just said about the dark side. And there was a learning for me due to the application of the Lieferketten-Sorgfaltspflichtengesetz in Germany. So we are crazy in Germany. It's one word. It's the German Supply Chain Act, Due Diligence Supply Chain Act. And we at SAP, we apply AI systems and embed this in our solution portfolio. And due to that law and the implementation of it, I learned that there's a super dark side when it comes to working conditions for the people being involved and directly engaged in the value chain of AI systems. So people in Kenya, in the Philippines, under extreme working conditions, low salary, extreme working hours, and the biggest issue is not having mental support for mental health, because they are doing the labeling work that we don't see the ugly things, but they have to look the entire day at these super ugly bad things in order we don't see it. It was learning. Another element of the risk side is, of course, we touched on the energy perspective. And here I believe innovation can come to the play. Yeah, why not using times of a lot of renewable energy in the grid, like during the weekends or when energy-intense industries are shutting down their production and things like that, when there's maybe even a negative price on the power. Why not using these times to train the systems? Because training the systems is the most intense energy aspect there. And then the ethical part is as well crucial, yeah, that we want to trust in the outcome of the AI system. We want to have that transparency that AI was used. We want to have the human in the loop when AI systems are involved. So we at SAP, we changed from our formerly 7 principles back in 2018. We have defined these now recently to the 10 principles of the UNESCO to ensure that, because we all want to trust in it and to use AI for the good and not for the bad. And coming back to the good, based on a study of BCG, AI can reduce up to 5 to 10% of the greenhouse gas emissions globally. That is immense potential. And we need that because we know AI is an accelerator. It's absolutely needed. We just have 5 years to go to achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So this innovation which comes with AI is a huge opportunity. We need it, but we need to do it in the right way.
Agree. Kevin, maybe some examples from your domain. How can really AI help concretely?
Yeah, you've all talked about the implications of AI from a sustainability perspective, and sustainable AI as if it can't be addressed. Actually, it can be managed. It needs to be managed. And I think in any sustainability program, building in sustainability at the point the decisions are made is absolutely key. Circularity, all the things you do in sustainability, if you try and retrofit it, it doesn't work. So one of the things we're seeing is working with enterprise customers who are looking to build sustainable AI into their practice. So they understand what the implications are, look to minimize the impact of AI. AI is going to increase power usage. It is going to increase water and so on. But it's not, it's not a black hole. You can manage it, and you can manage it effectively. In terms of the solutions for how you can use AI, clearly there are some dark things. You've mentioned some of them. I think one that stood out for me this week in the US. Well, actually, Hikim, you ran a session. For this panel session, we ran a Zoom call, and we, after it, used Gemini to show, or Google Meets, to show a summary of the session. It was amazing. The AI was amazing. It got a great summary. It got the nuance of our conversations and what we decided to do. I was sold. Brilliant. I then look at what's happening in the US. In US departments, they're now mandating that every call is recorded. Every call is in Gemini and reported. That means that Doge has access to everything that anybody says and the nuance. If they want to remove all the people who mention the word ESG or diversity or whatever else it might be, that is at their fingertips. That was the scariest thing for me in the last week. I do think the best sustainable AI activities will be done by startups, by people in corporates who have an idea and have leadership. I think the good ideas will come from everywhere. I don't think government are not the best people to put these things in place. They're pretty rubbish. I think it's leveraging good ideas from people, and I think some of you talked about having frameworks to do that. Europe clearly has more constraints on how AI is going to be used. The Americans, I think, are moving in the other way. I do think potentially looking at what DeepSeek's doing. I mean, they took the restrictions they had in GPU usage and they came out with something that took those limitations and did something good. I'm rather hoping from a European perspective, and I'm including the UK in Europe. UK may have left the EU. I didn't leave Europe. I do think looking at the limitations and the frameworks Europe are putting in place, hopefully from an innovation perspective, we use those limitations to build things that will be innovative and competitive against what the Americans are doing, which is basically do whatever you want.
Daniel, you want to comment?
Yeah, maybe it helps for you in the audience to come up with some concrete cases how positive impacts through AI can be developed. And of course, at the end, it's about for decision makers to make informed decisions, connecting the financial, the economic with the social and the environmental dimension, to ensure the mid and long-term success of a company. that is, by the way, well understood, but they need to trust in the data and making these informed decisions, and they need the data in a data quality in a timely fashion at the point of the decision and not 4 or 5 months after fiscal year is over when the sustainability report is out. So here, as an example, SAP developed a solution helping with emission factor mapping, because in your value chain, the data you get from your suppliers, some of them are able to give you already the product footprint data, the carbon emissions coming with the product or the service they deliver to you, and some are not yet there. And we have a very immature situation in the market with that. But there, as you know, SAP is quite well known to manage the material flows. Then you can use AI to go automatically in a LCA and a life cycle assessment database like Ecoinvent, get the data out. If this piece is missing, putting it in the business process, and within the business process, having these data enables you to make informed decisions. So that is one concrete example. Another concrete example fitting as well to the topic of regulation with the EU Green Deal. This is about 15,000 pages, EU Green Deal. And with the alphabet soup of regulations, ESRD, ESRS, ESDDD, and so on, we could continue with that. It's a tremendous effort for companies to be compliant with these regulations. Now there's this omnibus approach to do it a little bit more pragmatic. But here, of course, generative AI can help companies to avoid these huge manual efforts to generate these reports, and AI can reduce that amount by 75%, because you want to use your experts in sustainability to improve and create a positive impact, and not to just use these resources for reporting purposes.
I think the secret lies really in looking at the processes, as the business scenarios, and really trying to understand what can we reshape with AI. Understanding what is AI capable to do, and then look at it and just really take a step back and look at what can you do differently, and how can AI change completely the game. And I think there's a lot of potential, really a lot of potential there. And now we have 10 minutes, I just learned. So if we really try to project now, let's say 5 years ahead from now, and say that we are on a good way to have an AI that is really capable of planning, that's comes more grounded than it is today, right? And has kind of a consciousness, meaning understanding what it has done itself, if you want to do it like this, in the cycle before, and project. So something that is very different to what we have today, even though maybe we are on that way. So try from there on and really understand what can be the impact on humanity and our livelihood, what in a positive sense, how can we use this in order, not like in the past, we always used to just to improve our muscle power over all the since humanity exists. Now we're trying to more attack the brain and understand how we can really amplify the way how we think by leveraging all this very powerful models. So how can it impact our livelihood? Thomas, would you like to start?
So I'm a little bit of an AGI skeptic. If we go back in history, it's been in discussion. Every Nobel Prize winner involved in AI predicted that AGI would come within a few weeks of them receiving the Nobel Prize. So I think the human brain is far more complicated than we're giving it credit for. So I kind of think that and it's probably unusual from a VC, but I think the AGI fetish is a bit of a wild goose chase, and we'd be better off focusing on thinking about how we can use AI to improve human life and improve the world more effectively, rather than having this sort of surreal goal of trying to play God or Leviathan and to imitate humans. So I'm a little bit of a skeptic on the AGI side. What we will see over the next 5 years, I have absolutely no idea. I don't know whether in 5 years' time we will be in an AI winter. I don't know whether we will be still in an AI spring. I have absolutely no idea. What I do know is that the AI of 5 years' time is going to be better than the AI of today. But I feel like this focus on AGI is in the long scheme of things we're probably going to look back at it and say, why were we doing that?
Tobias?
I see it twofold. I don't see AGI on the near horizon. I think that in, I don't know, 20, 50 years, maybe it's somewhere coming. Who knows? Two perspectives, one coming from the research side. So like we discussed also up front that in historical means you had this kind of multi-talents, people that were really deep into math and physics and chemistry and biology, and they could combine and draw, like take concepts from one area and put it in place into another area, and that somehow is not possible anymore today, at least for us as a human, as the expertise in certain domains are so deep. But with AI, you can actually try to come up to cross like fruitful cross intersection between those different disciplines and branches to see how can we actually bring things forward, and that actually was shown already in chemistry. Otherwise, the Nobel Prize wouldn't have gone in that field. And so I would expect actually that in the science research perspective, AI will accelerate what we found, what we know about the world, what we know about physics, that maybe will enable us to come to, I don't know, energy fusion a few years faster than we actually predicted currently. So that would be a very nice way and impact on the research side. And by the way, at Hessian.ai, what we're currently doing is really we put two twin disciplines next to each other. One is AI from a technical perspective, the other one is cognitive science. So how does our brain work, and how can we use AI, leverage AI to understand better how our brain works, and vice versa. So what do we learn about our brain, and how can we make AI more efficient, train on less data, more quality data, less energy consumption, less energy hungry. And the last point that I see as a very positive narrative would actually be to free us people from less work that we don't want to do and open up space for like freedom, arts, culture, and so on, music, and kind of those promising ideas that we had 50, 60, 80 years already with the manufacturing pace. We say, okay, now we streamline everything, we're manufacturing everything, and then we will only work 20 hours, 25 hours. Seems that didn't work out, right? So maybe that's somewhere on the horizon from a humanity perspective.
Building on that.
1 minute, Daniel. I just got the sign we need to cut.
The key takeaway for you, see AI as the smartest colleague you have. That is my vision.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you very much.
So we have time for one question again. Is there a question in the room? Okay, ladies first.
Well, I wanted to challenge you a little bit about the title and everything you said about AI. AI as a, let's say, tool which is very energy demanding, also resources, other resources like water and rare minerals, and it's, let's say, very dirty. How is it even a good tool to tackle greener Europe topic? Having a very dirty, tool to tackle the environmental problems, because it was somehow missed. This.
Yeah, definitely. I think otherwise we would have definitely approached this topic as well, to give also some examples from agriculture, for instance, use AI like Google is doing with before the moonshot projects, tackling problems, how to, for instance, identify new ways of grains, of beans that you can grow with less water, that are more resistant, to feed more people, right? Using AI, and also to understand the genetics behind precision agriculture. So you can really invest a lot. And that's a pockets that definitely have an impact on sustainability as well.
The right tool, AI,
yeah.
the dirty tool, is it the right tool to tackle the problems with the environment we have and the pollution? To add the tool which produces the pollution, if this is a tool to tackle the problems of the polluted environment.
Yeah. The key challenge is we need to do it in the right way. That means renewables. And by the way, at SAP, all the data centers, including the co-locations and hyperscalers, since 2014, 100% renewable energy on highest quality level. Number one. Number two, the net impact, if we do it in the right way, is reducing emissions by 5 to 10%. That is crucial. It's needed. I'm an optimistic guy, but we need to do it, and you're absolutely right, spot on, in the right way. And we can't neglect the negative risks coming out. And the key aspect is as well to enable our engineering people working in engineering roles to do the programming in a way that leads to less energy consumption in the data center when these applications are used. That is a key lever we have in our hands.
We have 1 second question, short one.
Hopefully short one. Yeah, I was just recently faced with an interesting thought, which was to say that maybe in 1 or 2 decades from now, electrical power, energy, will be for free of charge, given 2 facts. Firstly, the increased efficiency and effectiveness of solar panels and what have you. And secondly, huge quantum leaps when it comes to allocating this energy from supply to demand. Would you say this is kind of a bit rose-colored, or at least a scenario that is not entirely unrealistic? So this would be my question.
Kevin, it's yours.
I think it'd be nice. I think it's, as when you said, you can't predict what's going to happen next. I did leaning into AI. I did a course at MIT. Wasn't that long ago, and probably that amount was on generative AI. That was like not something that would be commercially useful. And then generative AI exploded, and you would not be doing a course at MIT now, I would guess, without generative AI being like front and center. So this was being run by professors and the smartest people on the planet on this topic, and they missed it. So I don't think any of us here are qualified to answer your question. Is in 20 years, is it going to be a free use? My guess is no. If you look at the amount of fossil fuels being used over the last months and years, it's simply just going up, and I don't see us being able to go to turn it off anytime soon. Hope I'm wrong.
So anyway, if you want to discuss more with the panelists, they're going to be downstairs also, I assume. But thank you to the panel and to Hisham for moderating.